what I was talking about before is the fact that an enormous number of people say, all right, one of the voices, one of the kinds of voices that we just simply don't hear is that of the religious leaders among the Islamic population of the world, but most particularly here in the United States. Where are the voices of the imams? Where are the voices of the faithful Muslims who don't want to bring down buildings and who don't want to bring down societies that are not Islamic? Well, I ask that question of my next guest regularly because we have Dr. Jasser in, and in this particular case, he's here to represent a film that is about to be released, and this is a preview for you and me of that film, The Third Jihad.
ما نعتقده أن جميع الأرض لا بد أن تكون تحت حكم الإسلام.
We believe Islam will dominate.
It's an entire movement, and the idea of it is hatred for our way of life.
فأمريكا إلى زوال والإسلام إلى بقاء.
The document states that their work in America is a kind of a grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within.
On our website, we talk about the Islamic State of North America by 2050.
Islam will dominate. That's what it will be.
Are you starting to see a pattern here? Is the Islamic State a threat to American security? Yes, it is. We all know about terrorism. This is the war you don't know about.
Certainly gets your attention, Dr. Jasser. When you've been here in the past, we've talked about specific actions of some elements of Muslim society here and abroad. But in this particular case, I want to talk about the film that you are a part of, not only a voiceover narrator, but also on camera. What is The Third Jihad?
It's basically a documentary that takes the topic one step further, which, you know, terror is simply a tactic. The question is, what's the ideology, what's the movement of radical Islam, and what fuels it? And it basically looks at women's rights issues, gay rights issues, the Muslim Brotherhood, the document actually that was revealed just last week, actually discussing the Holy Land Foundation trial in Dallas by the FBI and Homeland Security, talks about all these organizations that say they're going to pretend to fit into Western society, but actually believe that the Islamic State and Islamic law take superiority over Western secular democracies. And if you really want to do real counterterrorism, you're going to have to stop that fuel. Just doing it as crime work is not going to work.
As with every film, as with every political television program or debate or discourse, I always want to know the same thing. Who made it?
This is put together by some well-acclaimed producers, Raphael Shore, Wayne Copping, who's an acclaimed director, and Eric Worth, previously with NBC and now a freelance documentary maker. It's funded by the Clarion Fund. They came to me and said, you know, this is what we're doing. We love your work. They had been reading what I've been writing and doing nationally in various markets that my writings and speeches have been given. And they said, you know, it seems like your message is very similar to what we're doing, and would you like to be interviewed? And that led to then asking me to do some of the narration.
But who are they? What are they doing? And what have they done in the past? Is it a Muslim group? Is it a moderate group of members of Islam? Is it a Christian group? Or are they not affiliated with religion at all?
I never got into the religious affiliations, but basically they are a group of concerned citizens based out of New York that formed a group, the Clarion Fund, to look at national security issues and the threat of radical Islam.
How would you describe them politically?
Probably, as you saw with some of the people being interviewed there, usually to the right of center, conservative. But, you know, these issues are, you can see Senator Lieberman's in the video. You've got bipartisan individuals and experts that Bernard Lewis is nonpartisan. I mean, an expert, one of the most renowned experts on Islamic history, is interviewed extensively in the documentary.
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
I think pigeonholing them into a political mindset would be folly.
Well, good. Good, because if it isn't just simply political propaganda or religious propaganda, then we want to know, because we can take the film more seriously then.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the question I always ask you every time that you're here or every time I run into you anywhere. When will Islam begin to strike out at the radical voices?
Well, you know, the question is the apologetics you hear all the time, which is condemning terrorism, but real striking out, which is to build a movement to attack that cancer within. This is part of the steps forward in a long journey that's miles away. It's like talking in Europe in the 16th century. When is Europe going to go through an enlightenment? It took quite a while, and I think it'll happen more quickly now with the internet and 24/7 news and addressing these things as readily as we do, but it's going to take a movement that is going to need a little more prodding.
All right, but do we have the time? I mean, according to the film, the Third Jihad wants to bring us to our knees.
Well, wait a minute. The Third Jihad, there's violent jihad, and then there's a cultural slow jihad, and that's really what this film addresses more so. Women's rights issues. England just a few months ago now has fully functional Sharia courts, allowing Muslims to continue to separate themselves and basically allow these courts to be incubators for medieval law. I mean, that is wrong.
Sharia courts are those that abide strictly by Muslim law.
Exactly. Now, I practice Muslim law at home. I mean, I'm not anti-Sharia, but I've modernized my own faith and my own personal laws, and the imams, most of whom are running this interpretation of Sharia, are still in the 15th century.
So the film, then, is a caution flag. It gives us an alert, but it doesn't do any good if we don't know what to do about it.
And that's why I felt it was so important for me to be involved. It really makes it clear, as a pious, I believe, a personally spiritual Muslim, I'm involved in this because Islam is actually part of the answer. It's the main central answer, is that a spiritual Islam can come out, and I've been able to practice my faith more freely in America than anywhere else because it's not coerced on me. It's not, I'm free to choose and not to choose, and that's real faith. That's the battle that we need to take to the Islamists that want to coerce Sharia and create these sanitized societies. And the way to counter some of those imams you saw even in that trailer is to tell them that's not Islam. Islam is a free faith just like Christianity and Judaism, and we need secular liberal democracies to practice our faith.
Are you the only one who's saying it?
No, there are many Muslims saying that, from Irshad Manji to many imams and scholars in the Middle East that I think we could talk about for hours. Okay, the movie is going to be on where and when? It's been premiering across the country in theaters from LA to New York. Phoenix is one of the locations that'll be premiering in Scottsdale at the Harkins 101. And Thursday night at 7:30. It's a free showing, so people need to RSVP to info@castlerain.com. That's info@castlerain, CASTLERAINE.com. And as always, our crack responsible crew here has all of the information that anybody would need right there. Dr. Zuhdi Zuhdi Jihad. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, what have I done? I'll be punished by somebody somewhere along the line. I thank you very much. Thursday, free show, Harkins, and you've got the information, and now it's up to you. Back in just a moment, we're going to find out about how it is that the rest of the world can change its life, and maybe even some of the radical imams, too, if they just simply pay attention to the next interview. The